podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the premier networks, 200-some stations all over the country. On Sunday, August 15th, 2021, this is episode 1820. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Worldwide Technology and Intel. With an innovative culture, thousands of IT engineers, application developers, unmatched labs, and integration centers for testing and deploying technology at scale, WWT helps customers bridge the gap between strategy and execution. To learn more about WWT, visit wwt.com/twits. And by Cachefly. Give your users the seamless online experience they want. Power your site or app with Cachefly's CDN and be 30% faster than the competition. Learn more at twit.cachefly.com. And by AT&T Active Armor. We rely so much on our phones these days, and we're always on them, whether it's live streaming content, catching up with family on weekly video calls, or watching your favorite podcast. Hi there. There's no room for fraud calls, thankfully. AT&T makes customer security a priority, helping block those pesky calls. It's not complicated. AT&T Active Armor, 24/7, proactive network security and fraud call blocking to help stop threats at no extra charge. Compatible device and service required. Visit att.com/activearmor for details. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, you know, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number, 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you could still reach me, but you have to call, use a Skype or something like that. 8888 Ask Leo website. Very important to know the website because everything is there. We write it all down at techguylabs.com. techguylabs.com. And if you hear something on the show and you go, oh, what is that? I got to know more about that. Don't worry about it. You just can go to the website, techguylabs.com. It'll all be there. And you don't have to worry about any entrance fee or sign-ups. No, we wouldn't do that to you. It's all wide open, just like the internet used to be in the good old days before paywalls and sign-ups and emails and all that stuff. techguylabs.com. Head on over there if you hear something on the show and you say, oh, what was that? Or what's that link? All the show notes to this episode 1820. Holy moly. For the episode number, you just go to the website and you should see episodes and you can see 1820. You go there, it'll be divided in hour 1, 2, and 3. And each hour we divide it into segments 1, 2, 3, and 4. And, you know, you can go right to the part you want. We'll even put audio and video of the show afterwards, so you can go there. We're working on a story right now, waiting to see what happens. Hackers claim... So, a little grain of salt when you hear hackers claim that they have T-Mobile account information for over 100 million people, that they got access to the T-Mobile servers. They weren't properly secured. They are now, by the way. The hackers say, and by the way, they must have found us because we can't get in anymore. But we got 100 million records. And they're offering them for sale. Actually, it's quite expensive if you want to buy it. If you want just a third of the total trove, it'll cost you 6 Bitcoin. That's about $250,000 thereabouts. But this is why it's so valuable. If this is true, T-Mobile says we're investigating. They don't know yet. Yeah, we're investigating. I don't know. They didn't deny it. But the data for 100 million T-Mobile customers includes, yeah, sure, phone numbers, names, physical addresses, the IMEI number for your phone, but it also contains social security numbers and driver's license information. Motherboard, which is a really good and reliable tech blog from Vice.com, says they've seen samples of the data and confirmed they contain accurate information on T-Mobile customers. The item is being sold on a hacker forum. T-Mobile USA full customer info. T-Mobile said, "We are aware of claims made in an underground forum and have been actively investigating their validity. We do not have any additional information to share at this time." This is a little nerve-wracking. Because, of course, it's one thing to get your phone number and your name and address, okay. But if they've got your social and driver's license information, there's nothing to stop these guys from taking out credit cards in your name and all sorts of stuff. This is a bit of a mess for the old T-Mobile. Bit of a mess. I'm a T-Mobile customer. I have all of the, I have Sprint, Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T. I don't know why I have all these accounts so I can try them out, test them, and I have multiple phones. I also have Google Fi, Mint Mobile, Ting. I probably should pare down these accounts. But as I said, I have Mint Mobile, which means they have my stuff. Maybe. I'm sure there's more than 100 million. I don't know, 100 million customers in the U.S. That sounds like maybe the whole thing. The whole kit and caboodle. Ay. Kind of a reveal from Nvidia. You know, they're the company that makes these video cards. Sam will be talking about them a little bit. I'm sure he's the car guy coming up at about 1:30. Nvidia makes a lot of the chips used in smart driving, auto driving vehicles. They pulled off a little stunt. Sam and I actually watched their keynote a couple months ago from their CEO, Jensen Huang, talking about, you know, the cards and the chips and how they were used and stuff. We did a live stream of the keynote with commentary. Sam and I didn't notice anything too weird, except towards the end, Jensen Huang, since the pandemic started, has been doing his keynotes from his kitchen. Nice kitchen. Was kind of snooping around, looking at different things. Got a real nice stove and all that. But at the end of the keynote, the kitchen dissolves into 3D parts that fly away, which is kind of weird. They magically disappear. Now, this week, Nvidia said they never told us anything. That whole thing was fake. You thought you were watching the CEO? It was a virtual replica. They digitized their CEO, then animated him with the help of the AI. The kitchen was fake, entirely computer generated. I'll tell you, Sam and I watched the whole hour and 48-minute presentation. I thought there was something about it that kind of, okay, I'm saying this in retrospect. Didn't say anything at the time. There's something about it seemed a little odd. But I certainly didn't guess that this was a completely virtualized CEO. That's a great way to show off your technology. I don't know why they didn't tell us in April when they did the event. But now, here they're telling us now in August, yeah, oh, by the way, he was fake. He was fake. Holy cow. Holy moly. No, you know, they sometimes when you do models of humans, animated models of humans, there's this thing they call uncanny valley. We're very well tuned. Our biology is very well tuned to detect anomalies, weird things, something wrong. You know, it's for, you know, survival, frankly. Something's a little off on that guy. Let's get out of here. We're good at that. And usually on these characters, and you know this because if you saw, you know, I don't know, Tom Hanks in Polar Express, remember that kiddie movie where he was an animated conductor of a train, and it was in the uncanny valley. You clearly looked like Tom Hanks, but it also was kind of made you feel weird in the pit of your stomach because it wasn't quite right. Your highly attuned sensory organs over millions of years of evolution said, man, something's not right with that guy. You better get out of here. He's weird. Either that or you ate some strange, funny herbs. Something's wrong. Uncanny valley. In fact, that's why it upsets your stomach, because if it gets any worse, you're gonna get rid of all that stuff that you just ate. You know what I mean? If you know what I mean. There was no uncanny valley with this keynote. Maybe the slightest bit, but I thought it was real. It looked like him. I thought we were watching the CEO in his leather jacket talking about his products. Holy cow. Do you remember in Star Wars, after Princess Leia passed, they still had her in the movies because they had old stuff, and what was it, Governor Tarquin, Peter Cushing, they made him, it was a digital version of him, and you could it was very brief, and he was in the shadows because they didn't really want to show you because, well, frankly, if you would kind of get that uncanny valley thing. Well, I think we've gone past that now. An hour and 48 minutes of a fake CEO, and nobody caught on. Wow. Now I'm scared. I mean, deep fakes, forget deep fakes. You can simulate the whole thing. They didn't say whether the voice was real or simulated. I got to think the voice was real. I don't know. Completely computer generated CEO. Whew. There's a new bill in Congress, the Open Market Act. No, the Open App Market Act. That's hard to say. The OAMA, Open App Markets Act. New bill in the Senate introduced by Dick Blumenthal of Connecticut, Amy Klobuchar, Marsha Blackburn. In the act, the legislation, they say, would break the competitive hold Apple and Google have over the app market. It will effectively force Apple and Google, although Google's already doing it. So I'm not sure how this. So Google allows third-party app stores. There's a checkbox, and you can do it. But I don't know if these. Frankly, these people don't even probably know. Some staffer wrote this, but Apple, no. Apple, you can't, right? You cannot use somebody else's app store. The Open App Markets Act, OAMA, will force them to open it up, put third-party stores. Senator Blumenthal says he found the predatory abuse of the two companies, Apple and Google, deeply offensive on so many levels. Now, remember, if you remember Schoolhouse Rock, and you remember, I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill. It's one thing for the senators to introduce this. The House also has to have similar legislation. They have to reconcile them. That has to be passed by both chambers and then signed by the president. So we're not yet there, but that's interesting. Is that what you want? Because Apple has said, if you force us to allow other stores, it's going to break our security model, and the iPhone will not be secure anymore. Is that what you want? I guess Apple could sue and say, hey, that's unfair restraint of trade or something. I don't know. I think this is going to be a long pathway. It's not going to happen tomorrow. But worth paying attention to. The Open App Markets Act. A bill to promote competition and reduce gatekeeper power in the app economy, increase choice, improve quality, and reduce costs for consumers. Well, maybe you'd do that. Reduce security, maybe too. This is just one of many, many, many things we're going to see over the next few years as Congress really comes to grips with the power of big tech and tries to assert their power over them, and it's going to be messy. It's going to be. I can't promise it's going to be good for us all. Going to be messy. 8888 Ask Leo. We will talk tech, answer your questions, talk about the news, anything you want to talk about. If it has a chip in it, you just call that number. 8888 Ask Leo.
Hello, Leo.
Can you believe that?
What's the occasion with the cowboy hats?
I've been watching a TV program with Kevin Costner called Yellowstone, and have you seen it? It's a great show. It's
I have not watched
The Sopranos with horses, and they all have these great cowboy hats. So that's what started it.
Yeah, I saw Lisa has posted several photos over the last several days of
that's where that
hat.
That's where that T-shirt comes from too. Doing cowboy stuff all day. That's also from the show. So and then the hat guy called me a couple of weeks ago and said, "Well, don't get a new cowboy hat because they don't want to kill the beavers or the hares or anything, the Arctic hare that they used to make hats out of anymore. So they just make them out of felt." But so I went and I found I searched for vintage cowboy hats on Etsy, and I found this one I think it's from the 60s, made out of beaver. It's a fine hat. I think it's as good as anything on Yosemite. So then I thought, well, I better get me a tie to go with my hat. The only thing I'm missing is the belt buckle with the rodeo award on it. Well, maybe I'll get that someday. Anyway.
Cousin of Ja says you can't take a cowboy hat like that into a Mustang Mach-E.
No.
Well,
actually, you can, but
you
have to take it off before you get in because it'll knock it right off your head. Anyway, we'll talk in a few.
Yeah, but once you get in, you can put it back on your head because you got lots of headroom.
Well, I guess. It's kind of hard because you can't, the brim is so big, you can't lean your head back. So anyway, we'll talk in a few. She's our Venus, Kim Schaffer, the unbreakable phone angel on a half shell today. Hello.
I don't know. I think I'm getting broken. I've been trying to get this poor guy on the air for 2 days now, and it's not working.
Is this a guy from Canada?
Mississauga, yeah. He's just having some issues, so
he's got a phone.
Keep trying.
It's not our problem.
Well, but then he tried to Skype in, and I could hear him, and he can't hear me, so we're just...
Oh, Lord.
It's never ending.
Well, who should I talk to?
Oh, let's see. Who should we talk to?
Anybody you think is...
Oh, let's go to Elizabeth in Fullerton.
Lizard in Fullerton.
Elizabeth in Fullerton.
There's a lizard. Oh, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth in Fullerton on line 2.
All right. Thank you, Kim. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Leo. Can you hear me?
I hear you great. Welcome to the show.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
I'm a 65-year-old grandma with a big project ahead. A two-part question. We have a lot of VHS tapes from the 80s and 90s that we transferred over to DVDs a few years ago.
Oh, good job.
And we're trying... Yeah, it's great because the other ones were degrading.
Yep.
But I still would like to get them kind of compiled in a way so that we can dole them out to all our children and grandchildren so they'd have easy access to actually enjoy them. Because right now we have about 50 DVDs with, bits here and there of, a few months here, a few months there. And I like to compile them all.
Here's the problem. None of your grandchildren have a DVD player, I can promise you.
I know. No, I know that. That's why I want to...
Those things are now somehow magically antiquated. It's amazing how fast that happened. So you want to really send them a link to a file or a file itself. Yeah. So the first thing we got to do is take the DVD, and they call it ripping it, which is to convert it, to take it off the disc and convert it to a file on your computer. And it's pretty easy to rip DVDs. Commercial DVDs have copy protection on them. I'm going to assume that whoever made your DVDs, whatever service did that, did not put copy protection on them because that would be cuckoo. So it's a little easier. But there's a great program that's free that works on Windows and Mac that's exactly what you want. It's called Handbrake, HANDBRAKE. Like the handbrake in your car, from handbrake.france or .fr, not France, you don't spell it out. Handbrake.fr. That's free.
Okay.
It's called a video transcoder. And if for some reason it can't see the DVD, they tell you what to do, which is download another program that'll let you see the DVD. That's only if you've got copy protection. So then within Handbrake, you're going to have a lot of presets that say, well, what device are you going to play this back on? And, things like you want to play it back on an iPad or a iPhone or an Apple TV or that's going to be very confusing. But if you make it so that you can play it back on an Apple TV or an iPad, that'll be a format that most everybody will be able to read on Windows and everywhere else too. Okay. You basically you want MPEG-4. The DVD is encoded in something called MPEG-2. That's what DVDs use. And the audio is AAC, the weird thing about DVDs is it's all together in one. It's mushed together, or we call it transmuxed, which is the same thing as mushed together into a single file. So this program can understand all those formats, take it, transcode it, turn it into a format that you can read on other computers, and then save it as a file. Next step is, well, how do we distribute that file? They're going to be pretty big. You might want to edit them. So,
well, that's my plan. I wanted to go on to. That's why I was asking.
So next step is once you rip them, then you're going to edit them. And are you on Windows or a Mac?
Well, that's what I was wondering. We have a PC, but I was thinking because I've used iMovie before.
Yeah, iMovie comes. That's why I ask. iMovie comes with a Mac and be fine. On a PC, there's a great program under $100 called Premiere Elements. It's from Adobe. Premiere Elements.
Okay.
Both of those will let you take the in fact, probably, I'm going to guess Handbrake will actually give you you're converting it for Premiere. Okay, well, we'll put it in this format. You'll open those all up, and now you're going to have a bunch of clips, and I don't know if you've done some editing, it sounds like. You'll see. It's way fun. You can take
that much editing.
A little bit. It'll be a fun project. Bits and pieces, snap them together, and make one big file. And then you could put it on Dropbox or some sharing site. Dropbox would probably be a good choice. Because it's going to be a large file, and send people links. You don't want to send that file through the mail. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, car guy Sam coming up. If you wouldn't upload it to Facebook, for instance, it's just going to be too big. So
I think Dropbox would be a good one.
Dropbox is good. It just kind of depends what people have. You don't have to have a paid version of Dropbox to download the file, but you do need to kind of set up an account with them, I think.
Okay, yeah, I think I already have one. I haven't used for.
Yeah, you probably do. Yeah, most people do. Yeah. And if not Dropbox, Windows comes with some OneDrive, which is their version. Apple has iCloud. There's, everybody has a cloud, Google Drive. Okay. So just a cloud, any cloud that you can put it on and then send a link because, it'll be 2 or 3 gigabytes at least.
Well, I know we have a lot. We have 4 kids, and we do video all the time. So
you are
free for about 50. Yeah, it's great, but we'll go to sit down to watch it, and we'll watch it. I've got to put one DVD in. We watched it for 20 minutes, and then we take that out, put another one in. So
yeah, what a pain.
I've got to do something.
And if you're in the mood to get a little creative, Elizabeth, you could put titles on it, music.
Well, that's what I want to do. Yeah. I thought iMovie, I can do that. So my question, I'm here out inside the mall, and I was going to we have a PC, but my husband uses it for work. It's older than the hill.
Get yourself the new iMac. It's beautiful. It comes with iMovie.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous piece of equipment. Handbrake works on it just fine. Now the trick is going to be connecting the DVD player. And that's a little tricky on the newer computers because they don't come with one.
Oh, I thought you don't have a drive for it.
No, nobody makes one. Well, maybe a few, but that's
tells you how old we are.
Yeah, it's very rare now. If they did, then the kids would have one, but they don't. So, but you can buy a USB DVD player that'll plug into that. Apple may have it if you're at the Apple store, you should ask them.
Right.
And if not, you can go to Amazon and get it. And it just plugs in. It'll plug into the Thunderbolt port on your iMac. And then it's actually a good thing to have. I have one. I never use it. It's in a drawer. But if you have a DVD you need to rip or play with or something, you can do that.
Okay. Now, my second part question, I know I'm already off the air here, but...
well, you're still on the podcast, so don't say any bad words.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I wouldn't anyway.
I know. I'm teasing you, Elizabeth.
Along with all that video, we've got... Remember double prints of photos? We have photos coming up our ying, and I want to find a way to kind of organize those. So I was going to get a scanner and kind of scan the pictures that are good pictures.
Good.
And so what kind of scanner would you recommend for...
Well, if you have a lot of them, it's hard to do it onesie-twosie. You go put a photo in, close the lid. Okay, there's one.
Wait.
Yeah. So Epson, it's expensive, but it sounds like you got some budget here. Epson makes a photo scanner called the Fast Photo. It's about $400 that has a sheet feeder.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, you put a stack, so then you can just put a stack of photos in and go away. And it'll, if one's got a bent corner or something, it might stop there, and then you fix it, and then you keep going. But it can do pretty fast, like a photo a second. It's very quick.
Oh, and the quality is pretty good.
Oh yeah, it's designed for doing this, so it has software that will clean it up, and it's very good. Yeah.
And that can go with the Mac.
Yeah. And then you could put it in the movie if you want. You could do what they call, and iMovie has this, the Ken Burns effect. In the Ken Burns documentary, The Civil War, all he had was still photos, but he made it interesting because he would pan and zoom on the photo. He'd zoom in or zoom out. You can do that with iMovie. So you could put the stills in with that makes a beautiful presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you get David Attenborough to narrate it, and you're set.
Oh, I sure.
In 1967, Elizabeth and her family went to Disneyland.
Well, Oh, oh my gosh. It probably bore most people, but the kids will love it.
Oh, everybody loves it. When you do this, it is a great gift to the whole family. And, my sister did it with our slides from when I was a kid, and I have those, and I'm eternally grateful. It is a gift to the family.
I am very thankful. My husband took all these. We had the old, remember from 1983, my parents had a very big, heavy battery pack with the VHS tape.
You carried that thing around. You got to get something out of it.
Oh, we got it the day he was born.
I'm so jealous. I wish I had all that. Hey, Elizabeth, I've got to run. Have fun.
Oh, well, thank you.
Stay in touch. Let me know how the project goes. Our show today brought to you by Worldwide Technology. Love WWT and their Advanced Technology Center. Worldwide Technology and Intel are at the forefront of innovation, working with clients all over the world to transform their businesses. Lisa and I went out to see the ATC last year. Well, I think we're going to go out again as soon as the pandemic lifts. We've been planning to go out again because it's so amazing. This time I'll bring a camera crew. Rack upon rack, building after building, filled with the latest technology from the biggest OEMs and the little ones that are changing the world around them. More than $500 million worth of equipment at the Advanced Technology Center. And what's great about them is you can use it. Yes, of course, WWT's engineers use it to spin up proofs of concepts and pilots, to learn about technologies, to learn about how to integrate it with existing technology clients might have. But you can also become a member for free of the ATC platform and use it. There's hundreds of on-demand and schedulable labs featuring solutions that include technologies like Intel's Xeon scalable processors, Intel's Optane persistent memory, Optane SSDs, and others. The latest and greatest, all the advances in things like multi-cloud architecture and security and networking, primary and secondary storage, data analytics, AI, DevOps, Agile, so much more. Not just labs, but there's white papers, demonstration videos, expert insights, technical articles, all the tools that it will help you and your business stay up with the latest technology. They use it, now you can use it too. Members of the ATC platform can access these resources anytime, anywhere in the world, 365 days a year. While you're there, by the way, you should also check out WWT's events. We did one for them back in March 2020. I hope we can do another one soon. And there's some great communities there, too. Lots of places where you can learn about technology trends, hear the latest research and insights from their experts and outside experts. It's just a boon for anybody with a business that uses technology. WWT is your lifelong partner because they understand business. They always make a point of understanding your strategies, your goals before they implement technologies. They want to make sure that they're exactly congruent with what you want to have done in your business. That's why you want to work with WWT. Whatever your business need, WWT can deliver scalable, tried and tested, tailored solutions. Because, as I said, they bring strategy and execution together to make that new, exciting world of technology happen. To learn more about WWT, the Advanced Technology Center, to gain access to all those free resources, it's easy. Just go to wwt.com/twit, create an account on the ATC platform, and then have at it. wwt.com/twit, WWT and Intel. Great partners. wwt.com/twit. Please use that address so they know you heard it on the Tech Guy podcast. And then that way they'll keep supporting us. wwt.com/twit. Now back to the show. All my friends ride around in a Miata close to the ground. They're low riders like Sam Abuelsamid, principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights. Great place to go if you want to get some insight into this fast-paced world of ours. He's also a podcaster. His Wheel Bearings podcast is at wheelbearings.media and wherever finer podcasts are stored. And it's all about cars and joins us every week. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Leo. How are you?
Welcome to the show. I am great. What do you? Sam does a fun thing. You don't see this, but he sends me video, and he always has some interesting pictures behind him. Vehicle to Network, V2N. What's that?
So this is all part of what we call vehicle to everything communications. So V to X. And starting next year, we're going to start seeing vehicles rolling out in the North American market that incorporate what we call cellular V2X. So they use cellular radio technology. When they originally started working on this, it was using a variation of Wi-Fi called 802.11p. But they've switched over to cellular technologies now. And so this is going to start debuting on vehicles next year. And it includes things like vehicle-to-vehicle communications, where cars can talk to each other, give information about when they, for example, if the stability control activates or the ABS activates because you've hit a patch of ice or something. And it can broadcast that information out to vehicles that are following and say, hey,
watch out. Here's black ice. Oh, that's cool. It's kind of like Waze, but it's automatic.
But you can also do, you can also do things like vehicle to infrastructure. So it can communicate these safety messages back to the infrastructure, to traffic, the traffic control systems, and provide updates on the road conditions. So if there's slippery roads, then they know where to send out road crews to put down salt, for example, if it's snowing. You can also do vehicle to pedestrian. Because it's cellular technology, you can incorporate this technology into smartphones, and vehicle to network, is part of the infrastructure. So you can send it over the cellular network as well. So normally the V2X stuff, it's using the cellular technology, but it doesn't actually have to go through the cellular network, through the carriers.
Isn't that ironic? Because
that's how they broadcast directly to other devices.
That's how they were selling 5G. Was this is going to be great for car-to-car communications. But it doesn't use 5G. How funny.
No, I mean, the current stuff, the first generation stuff is going to be using LTE technologies. Then coming up, after that, they'll transition over to 5G.
Oh, okay.
But the key to it, because you don't always have a network available. There's a lot of places where you go where there is no cell coverage. And what this does is it provides very low latency communications directly between nodes. So it's a peer-to-peer network, a mesh network. And so it's much lower latency than even the fastest networks because it doesn't have to go through the network. It just broadcasts out a message, and any other vehicle that's in the area can pick up those messages.
Yeah, wow, that's cool.
So it has information like where the vehicle is, its position, its speed, its trajectory, and then other information like road conditions, for example, or if the driver had to suddenly slam on the brakes, so sudden braking, to avoid a hazard. Those sorts of things will get broadcast out. So what was announced this week was there's a company in Denver called Spoke that has been working with Qualcomm. Qualcomm is making a lot of the chips for C-V2X. And Spoke is introducing a device initially for bikes that will work with bike computers. So a lot of high-end bikes have bike computers on them. And so they'll have this device that provides adds that C-V2X capability to the bicycles. And they're also working with scooter manufacturers and motorcycle manufacturers to offer this device. And it'll also be available aftermarket. So it's a $199 device, roughly the size of your smartphone. And then from there, it both broadcasts and receives. So you can also, cyclists can get those messages coming in from other vehicles or other cyclists and get alerts to hazards.
Interesting. Wow. So, love the idea. When are we going to see this?
It's coming out in third quarter of next year, so about a year from now.
Like actually in cars?
The first vehicles with... Well, this device is for bikes and scooters and motorcycles. Right. It'll be coming out in cars also sometime next year as well. So the first cars with C-V2X will be available sometime in 2022. Ford has previously announced that they plan to start launching vehicles with C-V2X in 22. I think we're going to see several other automakers over the next couple of years launching vehicles with C-V2X. And eventually it's going to become a standard feature on all vehicles.
Yeah, of course, it doesn't make a lot of sense until many vehicles have it. Although I guess, the example you gave of black ice, I guess if you're lucky enough to have one of those vehicles and you're behind me and I got the black ice, that's going to be a benefit to you. The most valuable, though, will be when vehicles cooperate, like you get to a four-way stop and one vehicle can tell the other, your turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's down the road.
And eventually they'll start to... Yeah, eventually they'll also incorporate it into the driver assist systems, so that if a vehicle ahead detects a hazard, detects slippery road conditions, then when your vehicle picks up that message, it can make adjustments to the stability control or the traction control to make it more sensitive, so that you're better prepared for it. Or even potentially when you detect a pedestrian, when a pedestrian is detected, to help with automatic emergency braking to avoid hitting a pedestrian or hitting a cyclist. So adding that into the automated features, I think, is going to be where things get really interesting.
I would love that, because actually I am too scared these days to ride my bike on the roads and highways around here. People are just too negligent, and too many people have died in our area from riding bikes and getting clobbered. But if it got to be safer, because, well, in fact, that's, I guess, the promise of self-driving cars in general, is they're safer because they're better drivers than we are as humans. That may be a few years off.
In theory, at least.
In theory, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this technology is...
and most of the, most of the increase in traffic fatalities that we've seen in recent years has actually been from pedestrians and cyclists. Yeah. Not from we haven't seen any increase in vehicle occupants dying, but it's actually from what we call vulnerable road users. So that's cyclists, pedestrians, motorcycles. They're the ones that are actually getting hit, and part of that is because in many new vehicles, they're a lot harder to see. So many people driving SUVs and trucks now, it's a lot harder for those vulnerable road users to be seen. That's where devices like this can really be a real benefit.
Yeah. Why doesn't it use an existing technology like UWB or something? It would be nice if there was some interoperability.
It's too short range. Vita X can go up to a kilometer or more, even up to a mile, whereas UWB is only within a few meters, a few yards. So it's too short a range.
So be nice, though, if we could standardize on something, because it would be a shame if only Ford cars talk to Ford cars and only GM cars talk to GM cars. Will it be cross-platform, cross-manufacturer? There's a standard messaging protocol that everybody's using. It's a standard
communications technology, standard messages, so everybody should be able to talk to everybody.
Nice. I can't wait to get back on the road with my bicycle. It's just too scary right now. Sam Abuelsamid writes about the modern world, about data and big data and so forth, as an analyst at Guidehouse Insights. But he also has a great podcast, which everybody should listen to, called Wheel Bearings, with Nicole and Rob. And you can find that at wheelbearings.media and wherever finer podcasts are sold. Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Great to talk to you. Have a great day.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me? Guess you can't hear me.
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay, good.
I can.
Yeah. You sound fine. You look fine.
Yeah, it came up. When I launched Skype, it came up with selecting the wrong audio output, so I had to switch that. Yeah. Plus, it also, of course, since I haven't used Skype in a week, it had to do an update before it could launch.
Of course it did. Well, there's only about a minute and a half left anyway, but this did seem to fix it. I don't know what's going on. You're not the first person we'd had trouble with Zoom. The Skype worked, so I guess it's good to have both in our back pocket. And it may also just have been a bad connection that reconnecting would have fixed it too, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You want me to hang around for the top?
If you would, that'd be great.
Sure.
I mean, there's a minute left now. I don't know if you want to do it now, but you can.
Okay. Well, one thing I can address, there was a question earlier in the chat from Scooter X about the new Lamborghini Countach that was unveiled at the Monterey Car Week this week.
Yeah.
He asked what I thought about it. I am apparently one of the few that back in the 1970s and 80s was not a fan of the Countach. There's basically two groups. There was one group that everybody was a fan of the Countach. The others were fans of the Ferrari 512, which were their main competitors at the time. And I was the Ferrari fan. And so, but I like this new one. It's
how much?
I think it's been really well done.
How much?
So, $2.6 million.
Okay. So it's really
okay.
kind
They're
of
all sold out already.
academic. Yeah, good. They're all sold out.
Yeah.
We'll talk in a few. Thank you, Sam.
All right.
Ghost Riders in the sky. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Let's say hi to, I think we got him. It worked. Derek in Mississauga, Canada. We figured out how to get him on. Hi, Derek.
Hi, Leo. How the hell are you?
Oh, I'm fine. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. My technology is just...
Yesterday, your Samsung phone was not working on you. Now, today, you got something else, right?
Yeah, the headset doesn't seem to work, so I switched to speakers.
Perfect. Welcome. What can I do for you?
Well, I've been looking for new monitors for several years.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the BenQ 9200U.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty good. It gets a lot of positive reviews, but it's about 5 years old. I'm looking for something that might be a little more future-proof.
What are you looking for in a monitor?
I don't do much except Excel, videos, email. I'm not a gamer.
Okay, so BenQ, which, by the way, used to be Acer. I think Acer probably still owns them. They just rebranded. Makes fine monitors, but you certainly don't need what a lot of modern monitors have, and it's primarily for gaming, which is super high refresh rate, 120 or even 240 hertz, super fast, low latency. You don't need to spend the money for that kind of stuff. I would just go to Dell. Dell has two lines of monitors. They have higher end, more expensive monitors, which are designed for photographers, not gamers so much. They also have a gaming line, but that's called Alienware. But their higher end monitors are designed for accuracy. But you haven't described anything that needs super accuracy. I mean, your Excel spreadsheet, red is red. It doesn't really have to be exactly right. So I would take a look at Dell's kind of less expensive monitors, which are remarkably inexpensive. I think they make very, very good monitors for a very, very low price. How big do you want your monitor to be?
I have 10-year-old Dell 27 inches.
Yeah.
And my eyes are failing me, so the text is getting too small. I can't see it.
Oh, I got to warn you about something, though. A bigger monitor doesn't make the text bigger. It makes it, in a way, it makes it smaller. So the size of your text is tied to the resolution of the monitor, the number of dots in the monitor. Monitors are actually high resolution. So you could take that old Dell and are you on Windows, Mac? What do you use?
Windows 10.
Okay. You can change the dots per inch in Windows 10 to make the text bigger, and actually all of it bigger and more legible. I would certainly look at that. That 10-year-old Dell is just fine, probably. I don't think it's working for you, right?
Yeah, it works pretty good, but when I try the increasing DPI or resolution, I only wind up with 2 or 3 or 4 columns in my spreadsheet.
Well, yeah, now you're making it too big. So I see what you're saying. Yeah, so you've got a spreadsheet with a lot of rows and a lot of columns. The problem with making text bigger is you won't be able to see as many. So that's a good argument for a larger monitor, but at a lower DPI. In other words, you can get a new Dell. In fact, they have much bigger monitors. My wife, who does a lot of spreadsheeting, actually uses a 49-inch wide monitor. That is huge. It's basically 2 of your 27 side by side. Great for spreadsheets because you can have many, many more columns. Doesn't change the number of rows, but changes the number of columns. And you can change the DPI to be more legible for you. Increase the size of the text and still have enough room to fit that spreadsheet in. So I think you're right. Now I understand the issue. You're right to look at a larger monitor. I would look at Dell's and look at some of their bigger size monitors, bigger than 27. Really big is obviously 49 inches. And those things, they just look like a giant bar across your desk. You have to have a lot of room, but I think it works quite well, especially for spreadsheets. That's why my wife uses it. She'll have QuickBooks open, on a quarter of the screen, and then have a spreadsheet that might go across 1.5 screens, just to get all of that all of those columns in it. It's really fantastic. Of course, you make sure first that your resolution would be supported by your computer. How old is the computer?
It's about 2 years old.
Okay.
I'm going to get a new one because it doesn't have a TPM, so I can't upgrade to Windows 11.
Well, we'll see what happens when the rubber hits the road on that one. Yeah. 2 years old computer does have TPM. They just may not have enabled it. So there's probably ways to turn it on in the BIOS.
No, I checked it out. It's just on this board. It isn't there.
Is it an AMD processor?
Asus.
No, is it Intel or AMD, the CPU?
Intel.
Yeah. Huh. Well, there's a TPU on there, almost certainly, but it may be...
I've done extensive research to try and turn it on. When I try to do it, it says it's not in the hardware. This is some board that the company gave me when mine fried. So it's about a 2-year-old board, but it just doesn't have TPM in it.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of people complaining about that. TPM, the Trusted Platform Module, is a bit of security hardware, although it can be implemented in software as well that Intel puts on their processors to make it, and AMD can do it too, to make it in software, make it easier to do encryption and so forth. And Microsoft has indicated that they'll want TPM for Windows 11 for higher security. But so many people, even with modern computers like yours, have this same problem. And I wonder if Microsoft's going to stick with that. We'll see. Windows 11 isn't out yet. Won't be out till this fall, so maybe that'll change. Meanwhile, and by the way, you don't need Windows 11. It's just cosmetically different. It's still Windows 10 under the hood. So yeah, if you're going to get a new computer, you'll get one with TPM, and then but even a 2-year-old computer should be able to drive a nice wide monitor. Look at all the different sizes Dell offers. They even offer a 43-inch monitor, which is like 4 27-inch monitors. 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. That's going to give enough. That's so much room. I think it's a little too big, although one of our editors uses it because he likes all that screen real estate. And I have to be honest, I have a Alienware, which is also Dell monitor at home, that's 55 inches, which is the equivalent of 2 49 inches stacked, one on top of the other. That's like, you can't really sit there with that at arm's length because your head moving around to look for stuff. But I would say definitely don't spend a lot of money. BenQ's fine. Acer makes good stuff. If you're going to buy a BenQ monitor, don't get a gaming monitor. They kind of focus on those high refresh rate gaming monitors. You don't need that. Basically, a basic Dell monitor is just going to be, I think, fine for you. And it's going to be a lot less expensive. I mean, they make giant monitors for nothing, 4K is not necessarily what you want, remember, because that just makes the dots smaller. So that's important to keep in mind. They go up to, let's see, how big can you go here? They're pretty, I guess 43 is their largest. You don't need the ultra sharp or the gaming monitors, just the regular computer monitors for home. And they have a variety of sizes. I'm looking here. 27 is kind of the most. Yeah, there's the 43 for $869. That's a 4K monitor, but it's 4K because it's 4 1080p screens, 2 on top and 2 below. That might be good for you. You could make this picture, the text pretty big, and still see a giant, portion of your spreadsheet. How many rows do you have in that spreadsheet? Is it pretty big? How many columns?
The rows are in the tens of thousands.
Holy
columns! I have 11 columns.
Yeah.
I've sized them so they all fit on one screen. So
yeah, I don't blame you. You want to see it all. Yeah, rows is not a problem because you can lock a column and then you can see everything as you scroll through the rows. 10,000. What is this for finance?
No, I collect records, music.
It's your database. Very nice. That's a lot of records. 10,000. Acer makes a 32-inch 1080p, about $250. That's another good one. There's some good choices out there. I am the man in black. All right, now let's see here. We got Mr. Sam. There you go, Sam. I'll put you on the air there.
All right.
All righty. If you want to take it away, you got 8 minutes and 31 seconds.
Okay. So another question that popped up earlier in the chat that I jotted down so I could still see it now was from Twisted Mister asking about the Accurate touchpad. And So up till now, most car makers have been using either touch screens or rotary controllers in the center part of the console to control the infotainment system. And personally, I like the rotary controllers better than touchscreens. They're more precise. You're not looking for a touch target, trying to hit a touch target while you're reaching your arm out while you're driving. It's less distracting to take. You're not just taking your attention away from the road as much. But a couple of manufacturers did something different. Lexus, for several years, was using a touchpad, which was frankly a terrible touchpad. It was worse than a lot of the really bad touchpads that you find on really cheap Windows laptops. And it was the type of touchpad like you find on a typical laptop, where you've got to scroll across like you would with a mouse. And when you're driving, it was a bad interface for controlling for trying to select the targets on the screen. They have now started to move away from that, starting with the new Lexus NX coming out this fall. They're going to a touchscreen system for that one. They're ditching the touchpad. Acura is doing something a little different. They also have a touchpad, but their touchpad doesn't work the way the Lexus one does. It's actually an absolute position touchpad. So if you've ever used the Wacom Cintiq tablet or something like that, where if you touch in the top left corner of the tablet, you're picking something on the top left corner of your display. So every point on the tablet corresponds to the same point on the screen. And so the Acura touchpad works like that. So if you're picking an icon that's for an app or some function that's in the top right hand or bottom left of the screen, you just touch on the pad where you want to hit on the screen. And it's more precise than a typical touchscreen system. It's very responsive. It works really well. It does take a little getting used to if you haven't used it before, but within a couple of days, you'll be accustomed to it, and it works just fine. It works really well. SCTV was also asking about the Hyundai Ioniq 5 with no center console controls. So I haven't had a chance to drive the Ioniq 5 yet. Hopefully, sometime in the next couple of months, we'll get the opportunity. They'll have the first media drives for the Ioniq 5. So the Ioniq 5 is Hyundai's the first of their new generation EVs. The Hyundai Motor Group, which includes the Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis brands, has a new EV platform that they call eGMP, for Electric Global Modular Platform. And they've promised 23 different EVs off of this platform between now and 2024. So they've got several new models coming out. They're going to be launching the Ioniq 5 first for Hyundai, which is a compact crossover-ish sort of car. It's about the size of a Honda CR-V, Hyundai Tucson, Toyota RAV4, that type of vehicle. Kia's first EV is the EV6, and Genesis is launching one as well that should be debuting fairly soon. It was actually supposed to debut next week during the New York Auto Show, but the auto show has been canceled, and so they haven't said when they're going to reveal that new vehicle yet. Redacted asks about thinking about buying a basic small truck. The Ford Maverick Hybrid, a good choice. I've reserved both the Lightning and the Maverick and not sure which to drop. So they're the F-150 Lightning and the Maverick are two extremely different trucks. The F-150 is a big full-size pickup truck. The Maverick is not. It's a compact truck. It's smaller. It's about 10 inches shorter than a Ford Ranger. So if you're familiar with the Ranger or Toyota Tacoma or GMC Canyon or Chevy Colorado, it's about a foot shorter roughly than those mid-sized trucks. So it's a much more compact truck. There's also the Hyundai Santa Cruz, which is just going on sale now, which is similar in size. It's actually even slightly a couple inches shorter than the Maverick. So these are much more practical for people that want the capability, some of the capability of a truck, having that open bed, being able to store stuff in there. Great for runs to the big box store on the weekend to get bags of mulch or topsoil or whatever you need, or if you've got some, want to carry some big potted plants, that are too tall to fit inside of a vehicle, that's great for that. Or, going to the beach or going camping. So it's a nice, decent size truck. Still has that capability. The Maverick, the standard powertrain in the Maverick is a hybrid powertrain. Ford's promising 40 miles per gallon city with this thing, which is very impressive. And the Maverick is actually going to be Ford's cheapest vehicle in North America, starting at $20,000 for the base model. They'll also have a version with all-wheel drive and with a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that is more powerful. And the loaded Maverick Lariat will get up into the mid-30s. The Hyundai Santa Cruz, similar concept. It starts at about 24 and goes up into the mid-30s. Hyundai is not, at least at launch, is not offering a hybrid powertrain in that one, so it's not going to be as fuel efficient. But I think depending on what your needs are, I think for a lot of people that like the idea of having a truck but if you don't need to tow a boat or something like that, you can still tow, I think about 1,500 to 2,000 pounds with the Maverick. So if you need to tow a small trailer with a jet ski or a pop-up camper or something like that, you can do that. But you're not going to be able to tow a big boat or a big, Airstream trailer with it. But if you like the idea of a vehicle that is a good daily driver, but you can still throw stuff in the back, and have room to carry larger cargo, I think it's going to be a really good choice for a lot of people. Let's see. Also, Twisted Mister somebody asked about the Acura Integra that was announced this week. The Integra, back in the 1980s, when Honda first launched their premium Acura brand, was their one of their first two models, and the Integra was really popular up until about the early 2000s when it was rebranded as RLX, kind of went in a different direction. They're announced this week that they're bringing back the Integra name next week, and it's going to be much more like the original Integra, much sportier. We don't know any details. They've released one teaser image of the front headlight and a little bit of the grille, and see the Integra and badge embossed in the front bumper. But I'm really looking forward to the Integra. Based on what I've seen of Acura lately, I think they're going to probably do some really interesting stuff. Maybe put the Civic Type R powertrain in the Integra.
Used to know a guy pronounced it Acura. Thank you, Sam. Have a great day. Have a great week.
Thanks, Leo.
See you next week.
Talk to you next week.
Acura. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, augmented reality, virtual reality, real reality. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number, 888-827-5536, toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. 8888 Ask Leo. Looking at monitors, boy, the prices are low. Dell has a 32-inch monitor for $409. $409. Now, compare that. It's funny because they also sell their gaming monitor from Alienware, 38 inches. So the 32 was $409. The 38-inch gaming monitor is $1,459. More than $1,000 more. Okay, that's why I say probably don't need the gaming monitor. I'm just saying. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Website, techguylabs.com. That's where you can go if you want to make a comment, make a suggestion, or just see what I said. Techguylabs.com. It's free. There's no sign up. There's no fee. It's just there for you. And you don't have to write anything down as I'm talking. You can just bathe in the sounds of the tech guy, and then when you need that information, it's all going to be there. Back, let's see. Back to the phones we go, and I don't know who this is. It just says on hold and ready. Hi, what's your name and where are you calling from? Second monitor person. Hello. I don't know what to call you because she forgot to write your name in. But it's you. You're on the air. I can't. What's his name, Kim? Tell me.
I forgot to ask him.
She doesn't know.
Hey.
Hey, what's your name?
310.
Line 1.
Line 310.
Chuck.
Hi, Chuck. You're calling from Anaheim.
No, I'm calling from Thousand Oaks.
Close enough. T.O. What's up, Chuck?
So I have a 5-year-old 27-inch iMac, high-end iMac, 32 gigs of RAM.
Nice.
I do, email and normal stuff in Final Cut Pro. And the hard drive crashed.
Oh.
And long story short, I put in a new hard drive.
Did you do it or did you have somebody do it for you?
Oh, no, I had somebody do it. But just as a note, I took it to the Mac store first, and they said, oh, no, you have to put in a Fusion drive, and that'll take 2 weeks. And I went to my local...
Because that's what it came with. Yeah, and your local Mac guy said, oh, don't listen to them.
Right, so he put in a terabyte CCD. Or
SSD, yes, good. That's the right answer, yeah.
And, of course, it works great. Everything is fine except my second monitor, which is hooked up, a 27-inch LG, which is great, which I'm looking at you right now, by the way.
Hello.
Hey. The fonts are somewhat fuzzy and out of sync. Not out of sync, just fuzzy. And when I was having issues with this a year ago, you suggested I get a program called Switch
Res, yeah.
Which I got, which you can change the resolutions, but no matter what I do, the fonts only look slightly fuzzy. So I have the same resolution on the two monitors right now.
So that's what Switch Res X will do. It'll let you choose arbitrary resolutions that Apple no longer offers you. They don't even say resolution. They just say, twice scale, twice best for monitor, that kind of thing, which it bothers me. I like to know what the resolution is. So, okay. So you got an appropriate resolution, but you say the fonts are still a little fuzzy. So there is font smoothing on the Mac, and you could do that in the system preference panel under appearance.
And that would...
Well, I don't know. It's worth a try. Look at font...
on the second monitor.
Yeah. Look at font smoothing, and you can play with the different smoothing styles. You can also... and that's for LCDs.
And by the way, this monitor was perfect before the hard drive crashed.
Isn't that weird?
It didn't have this issue. Yeah. And I'm thinking that this is a weird one.
Yeah. So the resolution, is the monitor the same size as the IMAX monitor? It's 27?
Yes, they're both, yes.
Okay. And so you set it to the same resolution. Who makes the monitor?
Yes. LG.
The only thing I maybe could think of is, the one thing that you did do when you got that new hard drive is you disconnected that monitor. And you plugged it in again. And maybe that cable is a little something. So you might try a different cable. How are you connecting it? HDMI? Thunderbolt? DisplayPort?
It's HDMI out to a Thunderbolt cable adapter.
Yeah. That's another possibility is the adapter may be doing something strange.
But, you realize I'm saying everything else in the monitor is crystal clear, perfect.
Just the fonts?
Yes.
The fonts. So that does sound like font smoothing. Because that is a specific adjustment for fonts.
So I'm looking at appearance in the system preferences.
Yeah.
And I don't see where to font smooth or anything.
You don't see use LCD font smoothing where available? Okay. Let me see.
I'm running the latest.
Oh, maybe
OS.
Maybe they've taken that out of Big Sur, right?
Yes.
I don't know. This is interesting. I think it's going to come. Well, but the pictures, the images, all look fine. Does it look like there's like a little red or blue fringing on the font?
No.
Okay. Because that could be misalignment of the fonts. Because, you have a red, green, and blue colors, and sometimes if the fonts are misaligned. So let's see. Big Sur, they've changed. So that was, it used to be in the General tab. Upgrading to Big Sur removes this option. Re-enables font smoothing. Okay. Oh, you could do this in the terminal too. I'll tell you what, there's a Mac Rumors article from last December on Big Sur, and it says if you recently installed Big Sur and you're wondering why the text looks blurry, it could be because font smoothing is enabled by default. So you used to be able to turn this off. Now you have to do a terminal command. That's interesting. Which is, I can tell you, but it's a long one. It's default space dash current host right space right dash G Apple font smoothing dash int 0. So here's what I'm going to do. You could either Google how to adjust or disable font smoothing in Big Sur. Google it, and it'll be a Mac Rumors article. Or you can get the link, which I'm going to put right now on the show notes. Actually, I'm going to put it in the chat room, and then James is going to put it in the show notes. I suspect there's something going on there is what I'm thinking. Big Sur did change some things. But again, remember, you've got an adapter going to the monitor which wants HDMI. You're taking, I think you're on an older Mac, it may not even be Thunderbolt. It might be DisplayPort or Thunderbolt 2. Is it almost a square little hole with rounded corners at the top?
It's Thunderbolt. It's actually, I was on the phone with the Apple support for a while, and then I told them it was going through the OWC dock, and they said, "Oh, well, that could be it."
Yeah, that certainly could be it. Yeah.
But I plugged it right directly into.
And that didn't fix it.
And it didn't fix it. And remember, Leo, what's really odd about this is that the fonts look fine on the iMac monitor itself. It's only on the LG monitor.
Well, but that's why we're looking at things like the cable. But, yeah, and you're right, font smoothing, it's interesting. Turning off font smoothing, maybe Apple's monitor, remember, Apple does stuff internally that maybe they don't do externally. So, I don't, and the iMac display is a little better. And yeah,
I don't hear people stumping me too often.
Oh, it happens a lot, actually. I wish it didn't happen so much, but computers are so darn complicated. I'm gonna say I'm with the Apple guy. You might want to get a different cable, or more importantly, a different HDMI adapter. That monitor wants HDMI, and your Apple doesn't do straight HDMI. It does, really what it's doing is DisplayPort over Thunderbolt 2. So you might want to maybe get an Apple cable. I know, a little bit expensive. And there is, if you go, so they took it out of the system preferences in Big Sur, but somebody has made an app for it, fontsmoothingadjuster.com. It's free. You can download it. Choose from disabled, light, medium, or heavy. Thank you, Apple, for taking that out of the general settings under appearance. It's crazy. Crazy. Maybe this has something to do with it. I don't know. Let me know if any of this worked. Honestly, I'm very suspicious about the cable. And the reason I am is because that's the one thing you did when you set the Mac in, you disconnected that monitor, now you've reconnected it. I think that cable, and that would also explain why the external monitor only is suffering this problem. Interesting. The Tech Guy Podcast brought to you by, quite literally, by Cachefly. We've been brought to you by Cachefly for more than a decade now. When I first started the podcast, the big challenge for me was how do we get people, get the audio and then later video to people without slowdowns, waiting, crashes, that kind of thing. We tried all sorts of stuff. And then Matt Levine, founder of Cachefly, called me and said, Leo, let us help you. And we've been happy Cachefly customers ever since. Cachefly's been around for a long time. They're what we call a content delivery network, innovating since 1999. In fact, Cachefly was the first Anycast CDN back in 2002. They have what they call their best hop technology, which automatically finds the fastest route to and from the customer across their global network of points of presence. So there are over 50 servers all over the world, which means that you're close to them. Because when you create content, a podcast, a website, whatever you want to serve to customers, it automatically caches on the server that's nearest them. That's where they get it from. It means it's faster, up to 5 times faster than other CDNs. And they have been innovating in this space for more than almost 20 years now. One of the things I love about Cachefly, because there's so many servers, they are the most reliable CDN in the world, 100% SLA. They never go down, which means I never get a call at 3 in the morning saying, hey, the servers are down. The podcast is not going out. No, my podcast has to roll. That's why we love Cachefly. Now, Cachefly is something new. If you are streaming, you're going to love this. They call it ultra low latency streaming. And it's not the WebRTC streaming you're used to that's frankly let us and others down in the past. On this new ultra low latency streaming, Cachefly's stream delays less than 1 second latency. That's amazing. They offer a wonderful HTML5 player with a great SDK. Means you can put it anywhere, websites, applications, mobile devices, whatever platform you want it to be on. And of course, with those 50 points of presence all over the world, their low latency network will stream that video quickly anywhere you have viewers, whatever continent they're on. And man, does it scale. Cachefly's, this is amazing. Cachefly's ultra-low latency platform can deliver video to more than 1 million users at the same time. 1 million! And it can ingest at the same time as it's ingesting thousands of streams all at once. Their platform's designed for transmuxing thousands of streams simultaneously, live failover. They can ingest RTMP, RTMPS, SRT, and all the formats and deliver ultra-low latency SLDP and HLS streams, and they can do it all concurrently. Plus, they will tailor the solution to your use, your peaks, your valleys. I really love how Cachefly sets this all up. In fact, you should find out. Just go to twit.cachefly.com and get an analysis. Bring your CDN bill if you've got one. If you don't, just your usage trends. See if they can even save you as much as 20% over your CDN. No high pressure, they're just great people with great information for you. Twit.cachefly.com. And I got to congratulate them. They've been donating to World Central Kitchen during this pandemic. They've served 300,000 warm meals through World Central Kitchen. I think that's fantastic. Good job. And you've heard me say it every time. Something like bandwidth provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. Go to twit.cachefly.com to learn more. Thank you, Cachefly, sincerely. Now back to the show. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Professor Laura is ribbing me with her musical choices because I am wearing a cowboy hat and a Kentucky Colonel bow tie. I don't know why. I just felt like dressing up today for you. Looking good in the neighborhood. 8888 Ask Leo. The phone number. Steve is on the line from Costa Mesa, California. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Leo. How you doing today?
I am very well. How are you?
Good luck you got going on there. When I talked to Kim, I thought I got the deer in the headlight look from her when I told my problem. It was so funny.
Well, I'll give you the same one. I'll get my eyes real wide now. Now you tell me the story. What's going on?
Anyway, I got an old laptop here that it was a hand-me-down. Anyway, I go to push in the password, fire it up, and it comes... And it says, password's no good. So I did it twice. I figured, well, I better not do it 3 times. And so I pushed the little eyeball, next to
to see it. Yeah.
Enter,
yeah.
And I saw it, and it was all backwards. And the cursor, the little line, was all the way to the left. So I go, something's dyslexic. So luckily, I got to look at it. And wrote it down. So say I punched in ABC 123. Well, then if I go ahead and push 321 CBA, I'm in.
Yeah, you just reversed it.
I just reversed it.
So, as you might know, there are some countries where they don't go as we do, left to right. They go right to left.
Yeah.
Hebrews left to right. Arabics, right to left. Arabics right to left. There are a lot of. So the first thing to do is make sure, once you log in backwards, that you've got the right region set.
Okay.
In your control panel. Make sure you're not suddenly in Israel.
Oh.
There is, though, and this is probably what happened. There is a keyboard shortcut. This is one of the lesser-known keyboard shortcuts for shifting from left to right to left.
Oh.
A lot of countries, Israel, for instance, they sometimes type in Hebrew, sometimes type in English, and they want to be able to easily go back and forth. So to try this, Control Left Shift. You press the Control and Left Shift key. That's left to right typing. That's what you want. Control Right Shift is right to left.
Aha.
And I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I'm actually kind of surprised that it's that easy to do.
Yeah, now I'm looking at the keyboard here, and I see a tab with the arrows left and right. Maybe I got on that one.
Yeah, easy to do.
Yeah.
Easy to do, kind of crazy. There is a keyboard troubleshooter you could run if this doesn't fix it. You can also look at your region in the location tab in the region settings. Make sure you're in the United States, not in Saudi Arabia. But that's probably what's happening. It's typing backwards.
Right. Yeah, because then I got on Google and Bing and Firefox, and they did it reverse too.
Yeah.
So
It's you know what surprises me is I bet this happens all the time, because how easy is it to accidentally hold down Control and Shift at the same time?
Yeah.
Pretty easy. And so you just hit Control Right Shift at some point and changed the orientation of your typing.
That's it. I went ahead and hooked up another keyboard to it, and
yeah, it could be, of course, all of the things could be, could be a keyboard, could be a driver, could be a region. But I think the most likely, and certainly the easiest one to try, is this Control Right Shift, Control Left Shift.
Okay, yeah, it's working. It seems I went ahead and went over the keyboard and I pushed all the buttons.
I'm glad that you called, because I bet you this happens more often than we want to admit, and I bet you there's a few people go, I'm not calling Leo.
Well, it's been a long time. I've listened to you for a long time, and I finally had a question that was worthy enough to call.
It's a good one. It's a great one.
Hey, it was pretty funny when Chuck called. I bet you everybody was yelling at their phone trying to figure out if they were them.
Oh, yeah, because I didn't know his name. So
yeah.
Were you doing that? You were already on hold. Did you say, it's me, it's Steve?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, Steve.
No worries.
I apologize.
I'm glad I had the eyeball on the password so I could see what was going on.
That's great. It really bothers me. This is a pet peeve of mine, that they hide these passwords, the black dots that they show instead of a password. The theory is if there's somebody looking over your shoulder, but 99% of the time when you're typing in a password, you're all alone, yeah. Or it's your wife looking over your shoulder, whatever. It would be so much easier if the default would be not to hide it, so that I can see it, so I can type it right.
That's right.
and what really bugs me is when they don't give you the eyeball, when they don't give you the option, and a lot of things don't, to see your password. And so you're just kind of fumbling around and guessing. How many times have I retyped a password that I didn't need to retype if I could just see what I was typing? Just drives me nuts.
Well,
Pet peeve.
to fix a computer, you need two computers,
Yeah, you do.
One next to the other one so you can look up stuff.
Exactly. If you're typing backwards, it's kind of hard to Google anything.
And nothing came up.
Steve, it's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much, Leo.
Have a great day. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. Chris Marquardt, photo guy, coming up. We're going to talk about some photo tips. Moving the camera next. Stay here. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Time to talk about digital photography with my photo sensei, Chris Marquardt. He's at Sensei, SENSEI.photo, and joins us every week to get us out there taking pictures and doing it in an innovative and new way. Hello, Chris.
Hi, how's it going?
Why are you laughing? What are you laughing at? You laughing at my hat?
Yes. No, I'm not. This is one missing in my collection, like a proper Stetson or something.
You need a good cowboy hat, yeah. I actually had I have somewhere my Stetson is somewhere. I don't know where it went. Professor Laura thinks my wife hit it. But anyway, what are we talking about today?
Those hats get in the way when you want to do photography.
Oh, this thing is way too big. The brim is so big, it gets in the way for everything. Yeah.
All right. I want to mix it up a bit, because we tend to have rules in photography, the things that you are supposed to do.
Yeah.
And the cameras are built to help us enforce those rules, like expose well, right? The camera helps you do that. Or have your subject in focus. The camera does that automatically for you, do the focusing. And by all means, do not move the camera. And with today's camera, I mean, it's really hard to get camera shake, right? They are like, modern cameras have stabilized lenses, stabilized sensors, or both. And it's really hard to get a camera shake in a picture today. But what if I told you that can actually be pretty interesting, to move the camera while you're shooting? You know, there's all sorts of different ways you can do this. And I want to look at a few pictures. I brought some pictures, and let's just dive in. Let me bring those up on the screen. So here's a motion that you can do with your camera fairly easily from a car, for example. We call that a dolly shot, right? You set your camera on a bit of a longer exposure, so not the 100th of a second or the 1,000th of a second, but set it to, I don't know, 1/4 of a second maybe. And if you move that, then you get motion in the shot. The camera's moving. This is a good one in a subway, for example. When the car moves and you take a long exposure, you get these streaks. Escalator shots, fairly easy to do. All you have to do is put the camera on the railing, on the moving rail, and expose long, and then everything else moves. You keep that point of reference in your photo. You still have a reference that's not moving, so that helps you. Helps your eye to hold on to something. So that's the dolly shots. There's zoom that you can do while doing a longer exposure. Works really well with little point light sources. Christmas lights, for example, are a very good example. So again, you let the camera do a bit of a long exposure, and then you take a shot while zooming. And then you get interesting shapes happening. Here's one that's fairly similar, but in that case, a photographer has thrown everything out of focus. There's also more lights in it. So what we're looking at here is just this jumble of colors and different shapes. And because they are out of focus, they are a bit bigger, so you get more covered in the picture. And it just looks very abstract, very, very interesting to look at. Fireworks. Very cool thing that you can do with fireworks. Again, we tend to put the camera on a tripod, and then when the fireworks come, we do a long exposure and everything is nice and in focus. In this instance, the photographer has thrown things out of focus while the fireworks are going. So you end up, instead of little light streaks, you end up with, they look like they have volume. And doing that or zooming while fireworks are going, that gives you just some stuff that, I don't know when I've first seen a picture like that. It's not long ago. It's maybe a couple of years ago when I've first seen someone try this out. So this is a fairly interesting and rather new technique. Next kind of motion is the panning shot, where you move the camera along with something else that moves and do a bit of a long exposure. Here's an example of a bicycle. So the bicycle, the person and the bicycle is in focus while everything behind them and around them moves. So it takes practice. You have to probably, it helps to shoot in rapid fire. Set your camera on repeat and then just click, 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 click while you move the camera with the thing that's moving. And in this case, a bicycle, it could be a car. That's the horizontal movement. People walking works well, even though that person is not fully in focus because that person's also moving. But I think it makes for a really interesting photo. The same thing works in a vertical fashion. This is something that has come up a few years ago, where you go into a forest and vertically move the camera while doing a long exposure of trees, and it goes really abstract. If you extend the time to, let's say, more than 1/10 of a second, 1/4 second, 1/2 a second, you end up getting some really cool looking abstract photos. I'm a great fan of those. Panning here's a good example of architecture. This is a glass elevator on the outside of a building going upwards, and the photographer has panned upwards with the building. So the building is turning into streaks, and the elevator is in focus. Rotation. Yet another thing you can do. Okay, this is a bit of a cheat. These are star trails, and technically the camera is it's technically moving because it is the Earth is moving with the camera. But I'm thinking more of something with a smaller rotating platform or something. This is a carousel on a playground, and the camera is on the carousel, so the whole world around gets turns into streaks. Here's a bit of an experiment. Someone doing a selfie with rotating the camera, so that it's kind of a scary type of shot. Here is a photo of a traffic sign, and someone rotated the camera while firing a flash repeatedly. So you end up with like a weird, again, an abstract piece of art.
These things take a little practice, don't they?
Oh, all of that takes practice. Yeah. All of that takes practice, but it's fun to do. It's really fun to do if you switch it up and move the camera instead of what's moving around the camera. And a ship, for example. Take a picture of a moving ship while having the camera on a tripod on the ship, so the ship moves, and by that everything around it.
Oh, that's a good idea. Oh. Yeah, so the ship is static, but the scenery is moving. Yeah,
right. So there's just a lot of things you can do by moving the camera instead of fixing the camera.
Breaking all the rules.
These are a few of the ideas.
Breaking the rules.
Yep.
I remember going on a photo expedition I took with my good friend Mikkel Oland, who's a really great photographer, and he was doing this weird thing. He'd be taking this picture and spinning the focus on his camera at the same time. And I thought, what are you doing, Mikkel? He said, well, I got to practice because this is hard to get the timing just right. But the idea is to pull the focus while you're taking the picture. And I think one of your pictures illustrated that. It's kind of an interesting effect.
Do this when fireworks are in the sky and you get like wild, amazing looking pictures.
Very cool. Now, I don't know if you'd want to use these techniques with our photo assignment this week because it's tidy. And there's nothing less tidy than a blurry photo. But maybe, I'm not saying you wouldn't. Take a picture illustrating the word or concept tidy, T-I-D-Y. Tag it TG Tidy when you upload it to Flickr, and then submit it to the Tech Guy group. That way you get to submit up to one a week. So I guess we got about 2 more weeks before Chris will review the photos and pick a few to talk about. Tidy is our assignment of the week. Chris Marquardt is at sensei.photo, SENSEI.photo. He's got workshops, he's got coaching, he's got online classes, and don't forget his great Tips from the Top Floor podcast, TFTTF.com. Thank you, Chris. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Nice. I love those. But it's so hard to get it. Like the turning the phone with a selfie, you got to do it 1,000 times in order to get it.
You got to be ready to dump 99% of your photos.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, but that's how you get the cool stuff. If it was easy, there would be way more of that kind of stuff. Right.
There was a great post on Reddit, subphotography. There was photography subreddit, where a guy said, "The harder the picture is to take, the more I like it." I think that's not a bad observation.
The cool stuff happens at the edges, not in the middle.
Yeah, I think you're right. Although every once in a while, for me, because I'm lazy, I get a good picture. I get lucky. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
Next week.
See you later, Pard. Bye. Rango. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo the phone number if you want to talk high tech. Let's do it. Let's just call me the Rango of computers. Rick is next from Placerville, California. Hello, Rick.
Hi, how's it going, Leo?
Oh, it's going great. How are you?
Good. Well, first the 2 things I wanted to talk about is these password programs, which I've been learning, and I have 2 of them. I'm going to decide to buy one that's going to be multi-devices and so forth. But I noticed one thing, and of course I've overcome it because the instructions or the customer support, they really lag. And you got to kind of do a lot of hit and misses. And, of course, most of them turn into hits. except I'm still trying to figure out the email on the RoboForm program. And then I wanted to ask you, what use do you prefer? I know you sponsored LastPass on your show in the past, I believe, and RoboForm. What do you think is the better one? And is there any difference really between the security when you scramble everything among to protect your websites, banks, email information?
These are great questions, and you have now triggered, and I'm sorry, the long-form password manager talk. Are you ready?
Oh,
so, I got this all figured. So it's not that long. I can do it in 5 minutes. So here's the deal. We all have too many passwords these days. It's really bad. When I was a kid, you had to remember your locker combination. That's maybe your phone number, and that's about it. But now they expect us to remember thousands of passwords for every website, every account, every app. Obviously, no one can do that. What most people do, and it's really a mistake, is they use the same password over and over, or a variation of the same password over and over, and they use a password they can remember. Maybe their birth date, the kid's name, your mother's maiden name, all mushed into one or whatever. The problem with that is it's very easy for hackers to guess them. They're not guessing them like, let me try this, oh, now let me try this. They got brute force programs that can guess 1 million passwords a second. They go very fast. Those are easy to guess. And if you reuse a password, all they have to do is get one for one account, and now they got all your accounts. So clearly, if you are going to try to remember it yourself, it's just not doable. Easiest thing to do, and frankly, if you never leave the house, this is fine. Get a little notebook. I actually saw one the other day at Target that said passwords on the front in gold letters. I would not recommend that because it's kind of a giveaway. But anyway, I told my mom to do this initially. Just write down every password. But there's another problem with that, which is you cannot really make up good random passwords. Your brain doesn't work that way. Your brain will always make up passwords that are kind of meaningful, and the less random, the easier they are to brute force for these bad guys. So what we really want is something that will create a new password for everywhere we go, everyone we need, and it'll make it long, 16 characters or more, and it'll make it completely random, and it'll even use upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and punctuations. And it'll come out, you'll just get a string of gobbledygook, 32 just random letters. No one could remember that. So you need a password manager. That's what a password manager does. It generates unique passwords, long and strong, for every site, and it remembers them. All you have to remember is the one password to unlock the vault, and everything else will be there. Now, there are differences in password managers in terms of how they store that vault, how they encrypt it, but most importantly for the end user, how easy they make it to fill in the passwords. If you've got a 32-character random password, you don't want to type it in manually. You want it to autofill. So all the good password managers use strong encryption. Almost all of them will store the vault for you. Some people don't like that idea, and there are even some that will let you store the vault as you choose on your own Dropbox or whatever. There's pros and cons on that, but that's a footnote. I'll save that for some other time. There are also password managers that will work with Android, iOS, Windows, Mac, and all the browsers to automatically fill in the passwords. And if you get to a site where you need a password, automatically generate one. That's what you want. That's the easiest. It's also a little bit less secure. One of the great security researchers from Google, he works at Google Project Zero, but also works on the Chrome browser. Tavis Ormandy is his name. Says, don't use a password manager. Use the browser's password manager, because any password manager, when it's got a plug-in, an extension, is vulnerable. And that is a good point. But the problem with that is we need passwords in more than just one browser on more than just one device. So the password manager that's built into Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Safari, that's a very good one. Apple's password manager, which is its keychain, will do all of the above. But it only works on Apple devices. So if you ever use something besides an Apple device, you won't have your passwords. You'll have to.
That's why I got those others, because I could put it on a small base computer, and my phone, or at least 3 or 4 devices.
Exactly. So a good password manager, the commercial password managers will all do all of the above. LastPass, very good. They've been around for more than 12 years. 1Password is also very well known as very good. You mentioned the old man of password managers, which is RoboForm AI. That, I think, is the first password manager I ever heard of. It was Windows only at the time. It's now cross-platform. You definitely want something to work on all your devices. In fact, just in case someday you want to get an Android phone, I'd make sure it works on everything.
It does.
Yeah.
We'll work on everything. My only problem is when you get these. I'm looking at one LastPassword, the other company too. I was going to learn. I like to learn at least 3 or 4 of these.
Well, you ended up buying one because it's complicated if you've got your passwords in different places. And I'll tell you how I know that. I use them all because I want to know about them all. I have accounts with all of them. My favorite right now is an open source one, and I like it. It's open source because that means you can inspect the source, or somebody can inspect the source, make sure it's not up to and no good. And it means somebody can, if they go out of business or decide to charge, somebody else can keep it going for free. It's called Bitwarden. I would add that to your list of password managers to look at. It's the one I use now pretty much all the time.
Okay, I will do that.
But I have to say, any password manager is better than no password manager. Now, you bring up an interesting point, which I haven't really looked into, which is customer support. That does really vary from company to company, and I have not really tried customer support, so I don't know. Ideally, you'd never need it, right?
No number. Well, I think sometimes when you're dealing with a bunch of them, you want to cut some time. And again, I have to learn. Maybe there's some good out of that because I'm going to hit and miss and eventually hit. And I just wish it was a little better where they could just get an 800 number, talk to you one time. I'll take a one-time setup. That's all I need basically on that. But they don't provide that. They give you all these, correspondence.
Yeah, they want to do it cheaper. It's easier for them to do it via email or chat than have a phone call. And since people don't want to pay much, this is the problem with password managers. You know, Bitwarden is free, and there's a $10 a year premium account. LastPass, I think the last time I checked was $3 a month. You can't. One support call costs you $15, $20. You can't afford to do that. You'll lose your profit. So nobody wants you to make support calls. The thing to understand is, no good password manager will allow you to, if you forget your master password, the one that unlocks the vault, no good password manager will let you call them and say, what's my master password? That's a huge security vulnerability. They should not know your master password and should not be able to give it to you. So if that's a primary reason for customer support, give up on that. You cannot lose your master password. You will lose your vault. So that maybe is the password you put in that book that says passwords and you put in a drawer somewhere or a safe. You make sure you don't lose your master password and don't expect them to recover it. Some of them have some email recovery systems. Those always make me nervous because bad guys can use them too. And if there's password recovery, that's always a risk. So the ideal would have no password recovery. If you lose it, you bought it. That's done. Good questions. You got the short version of my lecture. But do get one. Any password manager is better than none. Well, hey, how are you today? Or should I say howdy, partner? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that technology. 8888 Ask Leo's the phone number. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Yes, I am wearing a cowboy hat, but no, I'm all hat, no cattle. I can tell you that right now. I did used to have a riding mower at one point, but that's about it. 8888 Ask Leo. Actually, Jeff is on the line, my hat guru, Inspector de Chapeau. Hello, Jeff. It's your fault.
Bonjour, partner.
It's your fault. It's your fault. You told me you said get a vintage cowboy hat. The modern ones, they're no good.
Hey, listen, it's a cheap hat with the right shape can look great.
I got a lot of those, though, and I thought, I want to get a nice one.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think you really lucked out. You look great, and here's why.
Why?
The hat should frame the head and the face.
Ah.
So when I look at your profile, the front of the hat lines up with your forehead. The back of your hat lines up with the back of your head. That's good. When I look at you full face, if I were to draw a line around underneath your chin and up over the top of the crown,
Please
it would
don't
be
do that.
symmetrical.
Oh, it is. It goes straight up and down. Yeah.
So, in other words, a guy with a big square chin shouldn't wear a pointy hat. That's
I wish I'd known, Inspector de Chapeau, but I just, after I talked to you, I just searched, I Googled vintage cowboy hats, and Etsy has a lot of them.
Yeah, you lucked out because this one really fits you well. I like it when I wear a hat. I like if I drop it on my head. I like some space above my ears, so if it's breezy, I can cinch it down a little bit.
Yeah.
That seems to be the case with yours. Now the hat band or the ribbon, whatever it is a little rhinestone cowboy-ish.
You know what? It's a snake. Now this is the problem. It's old. This thing is so old that the snake has started to kind of flake. The snake is flaking. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if you want to make it a little more contemporary, just get a narrow black ribbon, put that.
Yeah, maybe I'll get a ribbon on this. That would be nice. This is obviously what came with it. You told me to get a Resistol or a Stetson, I think you said, but Resistol is also a popular cowboy hat brand, right?
Yeah, that was kind of their thing. By the way, fun fact about ribbons, men's hats have the bow on the left. Women's hats have the bow on the right.
Oh, that's a good guy might have gotten the wrong side, and then who knows what happened.
Well, the thing is, if you're watching a movie, you know if they're wearing their hats backwards or if the film is a flip mirror image.
That's a good point. Yeah, this is 7 5/8, and you were right. You said people's heads were smaller back in the day. It was hard to find one as big as my head.
Yeah, when you said you were 3/8, I told you had a big. I wasn't kidding, although it came out of a nice joke. But
you were right; it was bigger, 5/8.
Yeah, that's getting up there. Although I've met guys with a size 8 head, and they just can't find anything. It's
now I got a little brush, a hat brush, so I can brush it off. Is there anything else I should do for a fine hat? I don't know how we're talking about this.
Yeah, you always brush counterclockwise if you're holding your hat in your hand. Although it wouldn't matter that much, but when they put a finish on it, there's the body of the hat, and then they paint kind of a finish for a nice feel. Those are always painted counterclockwise, unless the hatter making it was left-handed.
Now, Jeff, this brim is very stiff. I wouldn't feel like I could fold it or anything or modify it, but I suppose if you brought it to somebody who knew what they were doing, they could steam it and have a different shape. But I think this is an all right shape. What do you think?
Well, if you have a tea kettle and that can produce a good burst of steam, you can do some shaping, but I wouldn't mess with it. It looks great.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, what you need now, though, is a black duster. Is this jacket that...
I was going to wear that, but as you can see, the air conditioning has failed in the studio, and
that's right.
I didn't think a duster would really be appropriate.
It'd be more like a sweater.
I did get a Kentucky Colonel string tie, though, to go with it, and I feel like I'm ready to either get somebody married or go to a cowboy funeral, one or the other.
No, perfect. By the way, somebody mentioned kilts. I ran into a guy at a thrift shop once from Scotland. Big guy, big, tall, older guy, fully decked out in the Scottish thing. Magnificent socks. My regret was that I didn't take a picture of it.
We had a guy at our Tech TV studios, one of our sound guys, Marcus, had a beautiful formal kilt outfit. That's my neck. I decided... I'm not into comic books or superheroes, so my cosplay is going to be kind of movie characters. And it's Outlander next. So anyway, Jeff, I thank you for the inspiration. You've unfortunately, my wife maybe not so happy. Actually, she doesn't mind. She likes it. You've stimulated my renewed interest in hats. When I was a kid, I had a hat collection, but all the hats were too small. I couldn't wear them anymore. So I had to...
Don't be afraid to wear it in the rain. Just, when it gets wet, just set it down. Don't mess with it. Let it dry.
And don't put it on the brim, right? When you rest it upside down. Is that right?
Top hats, that's true.
Okay.
But, you can mess with it a little bit. You can crease it, pinch it a little more.
This thing's pretty flexible. Yeah, I'm not too...
Yeah. Looking at the inside now, that black, it does look like a 60s,
Yeah, I don't... They didn't have the exact date. But it looks it's definitely and it's in good shape, which is nice. Oop, that's Elon Musk. I don't want to show him. There it is. There's the inside of that. It's 4X Beaver, it says. Is that good? I don't know what that is.
That's 40% beaver. That's not bad at all.
I've seen 70. That would be better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be an early fit. I like the liner is nice, and it has the plastic protecting it. If it was real old, it'd be a grosgrain, oil silk protecting that.
Oh, nice. Well, it's not that old.
It's good. It's not full of moth holes, I assume.
No, it's in great shape. Somebody kept it in the closet somewhere, and now it's out of the closet, and so am I.
All right. Well, that's it. I don't want to.
I don't know how tech talk turned into hat talk, but I'm sorry. I don't mind doing it. I like hats, and
it's low tech.
It's low tech. Well, you were the guy who told me that pants. Well, I don't want to get into that now, but
no.
I don't think I'm going to get my pants made to go above the belly anymore.
If you're near a vintage shop, though, and they have men's vintage clothing, check it out.
Hey, Jeff, I'm glad you approve. Next step, I want to get a 1940s fedora, but those are harder to find in good shape, obviously. They're a little...
if you're ever in the city, I'm right nearby Route 1. Stop by. We can pull out my hats, and I'm sure I could find...
You brought me some beautiful... you showed me a beautiful Panama hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Have a good one.
It's a pleasure talking to you. You didn't know you tuned into Hat Talk, did you? I'll tell you know what? One of the reasons I kind of like... To do the hats and the dress up and the analog stuff is because tech can be so soulless and lifeless, right? It could be just hard metal robotic. And even when we started doing this show in the mid 2000s, and when I started doing tech TV in the late 90s, and even earlier than that, I always had it in my mind that if you're going to talk about tech, you got to make it as human as possible, because otherwise it's kind of soulless. It's lifeless. It's just, it's just bits and bytes and resistors and diodes. And it's not what it's all about. It's all about the human side and how tech can help you as a human. So I always have been very interested in kind of making tech be more human. That's why, I don't know if you've ever seen our video, I've got a lot of bric-a-brac behind me. That's kind of designed to take the tech edge off of it, to kind of make it a little bit more human. And then hats help. Not a bad thing. The Tech Guy podcast is supported by Active Armor from AT&T. Love this thing. Look, we all rely on our phones more than ever these days. Whether you're, watching a live streaming show or you're catching up with family, I do this every week on a video call, or maybe you're watching or listening to your favorite podcast. The last thing you want is to be interrupted with a fraudulent call. Hi. Did you know your automobile warranty is about to expire? No, it's not. It isn't. It's fraudulent. I'm sick to death of them. It got so bad that I just stopped answering the phone. Well, then along comes AT&T. Thank goodness they make customer security a priority, and they help block those pesky calls. It's not complicated. AT&T Active Armor, 24/7, proactive network security and fraud call blocking to help stop threats, and I love this, at no extra charge. Compatible device and service required. Just go to att.com/activearmor for details. Don't take my hat. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thank you, Professor Laura. By the way, we spell that Perfesser, Laura. Charmaine on the line from Los Angeles. I'm sorry, Charmaine. No more hat talk. What can I do for you?
It's quite okay, Leo. Nice to finally talk to you.
Nice to talk to you.
I'm a long-time listener.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm just calling. I want to upgrade my phone, my iPhone 6, to something a lot better. And I have 7 grandchildren, and I like to take a lot of photos of, a lot of pictures of. And so what do you recommend? I'm 58, by the way. I'm going to be 59 on the 31st of this month. And I just want a great iPhone.
Oh, you didn't tell me you were young. Okay, so you're just a young whippersnapper. There's going to be a new iPhone in 3 weeks.
That's what I was going to ask you about that, too, the 13.
Yeah. That'll be, of course, Apple never pre-announces. But on the other hand, they're pretty consistent about releasing these iPhones. They'll announce it they're never going to do it on the day after Labor Day. So it'll either be the following Wednesday, the 8th, but my guess is on the 14th of September, they'll announce the new iPhone. And generally, in the past, availability has been, you could pre-order the following Friday, which would be the 17th, for delivery on the following Friday, which would be the 24th. So we're about a month out from getting a new iPhone, 5 weeks out from getting a brand new iPhone. That's generally, there may be some hitch in this giddy-up because, as you know, the chip shortages are making it hard to make them. COVID-19 has also slowed down production. So it's unclear what availability will look like. Apple's already warned that it might be a little supply constrained. But, here's the good news. You're going from a really old iPhone. It's a 6-year-old iPhone. You could now go to the current model, the iPhone 12, and you would be very happy. The new cameras are superb, and especially the video. They've focused on video this year. So the high dynamic range video that the iPhone can take is movie quality. I mean, it's very, very good. And that's perfect for taking pictures of the kids and the grandkids and all of that stuff. So what you might want to do is wait until the iPhone 13 comes out, because then inevitably there'll be price drops, not huge, but maybe $100 on the old iPhone. And so then you could you'll still be getting a huge upgrade. Now, if you wanted to move from iPhone, Google's going to announce its new Pixel 6 phone. Google's the other company that does. There's 3 really good camera phones out there. iPhone is probably the best. Very close second to be Google's Pixels. And the Pixel 6 should be quite amazing. That comes out in October. And then the third place is Samsung. They make some amazing phones. And in some respects, they're the best. For instance, the zoom available on the Samsung S21 Ultra is 100x. It's the best zoom of any camera phone on the market. So if zoom was important, if you like to take pictures of birds in the trees or something like that, that would be good. But you like the iPhone, you're happy with the iPhone. I think any upgrade you make is going to be a big upgrade from the iPhone 6. There's another one that you might want to look at, and they may announce this next month as well. Apple traditionally ships a smaller, less expensive iPhone. They call it the SE. This year's or last year's SE is really good, very inexpensive, about $400, and I have it. It's a very good phone. Not quite as good as their top of the line, but it's half the price, less than half the price. So there's some good choices out there for you. I think you'd be very happy in the upgrade on all of them as far as the camera goes.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah. Now, I guess the one thing I should mention is the screen sizes. They've gotten big. Really big.
Yeah, I like the bigger.
Oh, good. Okay. Sizes. So my mom went from an iPhone 6. I finally said to Mom last year, Mom, I'm getting you a new phone. This is ridiculous. So I got her the 12 Pro Max, and it is a lot bigger screen, but she doesn't mind that. Now, she's 88, but she doesn't mind that. She says it's good. So if you don't mind a bigger phone, I think the best cameras right now Apple makes is on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's the 12.
I love that phone, but it's so expensive.
It's $12.99. I know.
Yes.
But it'll be a little less when the next one comes out. And I don't think the next one's going to be a massive improvement. So you'd be very happy, I think, with the 12. And if you got the 12 Pro, it's not quite as big, but it's still a very good camera. And again, the SE is quite good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Leo.
Hey, I'm really glad you called, Charmaine. It's a pleasure talking to you. Don't be a stranger now that you know the way.
Okay.
All right?
Alrighty.
Thank you. Yeah, let me know if you have any problems with that new phone. I think iPhones are pretty much at this point the default choice, especially if you've already used one. I'm very excited about the new Pixel phone, but iPhone to Android's a big jump, and a lot of people are unhappy with it. They're not comfortable with it. I use both, so I can move fluidly from one to the other, but I don't think that's the case with everybody. You get this muscle memory of how it works. It's hard to change. Cindy's on the line. She's calling from Hira, Georgia?
Yes.
Did I get that right?
You did.
Wow. Well, hello. It's good to talk to you, Cindy.
You as well.
What can I do for you?
I'm sort of a new listener. But I have questions regarding my iPhones and my Macs. I had a healthcare company for 10 years. I'm a speech therapist. And in the midst of sort of the tsunami that rolled through my life several years ago, I started figuring out that my healthcare computers had been hacked.
No.
My computers at home and that kind of thing. I know just enough to be dangerous, honestly. But I know enough to know when someone has remote access to a computer or a phone and the crazy things that go on.
So I'm not gonna dig, but I'm kind of guessing the outlines of the story here. Does this person have physical access to your phones and computers at one point?
They did.
Okay. Because really, to do this in a way that you wouldn't detect it would require physical access.
Right.
So if this person had physical access to your stuff, yes, it's time to start over, reformat the drives. You can back up the data. Whatever he did to the computer will not survive a format, and it does not live with the data. It lives separately. So do a factory reset of the phone, back up your data, do a factory reset of the computer, back up your data, and any remote access devices he put on there should be gone unless they're hardware. So that's the other question. It's possible, depends how nasty this fella, and he obviously is nasty. Depends how nasty this fella is. If he, for instance, put a keystroke logger on your computer, if he had physical access to it, he could put a little hardware device between your keyboard and the computer that would log every keystroke.
Oh.
So,
how do I find that?
Well, the problem is, in order for that to work, he would then have to be able to come over. Mm-hmm. He no longer has physical access, I trust.
No.
Good.
Not. I don't even really use those computers anymore, just because.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
When my mouse is moving and I know that someone has, remote access,
if your mouse is moving by itself and it's moving with purpose, sometimes mice move because of flaws in the software or the hardware, but if it's moving with purpose, opening menus, clicking files, things like that, oh man, unplug that computer, pretend it's got a demon in there. Disconnect it from the internet, bury it 6 feet under. No, you don't have to bury it, but wiping it would get rid of all that.
Well, so my question is, I've never done social media, not really. But once this went over the course of 2 different states, and
so sorry.
Me losing that company and me hiring 2 police officers, investigators, that kind of thing, 2 private detectives, yada, yada, yada.
Are you safe? Let me just ask, are you safe now?
It depends on how you define safe.
All right. Well, that's much more important than anything else.
Well, agreed.
I want you to protect your safety. That's really primary.
Well, and that's sort of why I want to be sure that I get everything off of those computers.
Yes.
And or figure it out. So, long story short, I ended up taking one of them to Uptech, a company in Louisville, when I got the computer back, because I knew my soon-to-be ex-husband was up to no good. I wanted to know how he was tracking me, what he was doing, that kind of thing. This was years ago. I got the computer back, couldn't turn it back on, black screen, that kind of thing. And I'm like, damn it. And I had sorry.
So they may not. It's okay. Believe me, stronger words are called for. I don't blame you at all.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. This is very disturbing. I understand. Maybe they didn't wipe it, because that's what you have to do. You have to erase the drive. That'll erase everything he's got on there. Now, there is data that you probably want to save. And so the tricky part is getting that data off. Mm-hmm. You could just copy it to an external drive or a thumb drive or whatever. Don't connect it to the internet. So turn off Wi-Fi. Don't plug in the Ethernet cable. Turn it off. You can turn it on without getting giving him access if it's not online?
Well, let me tell you one of the things, and I've never uploaded anything to the cloud. I don't do any of that stuff because I, knew enough guys getting PhDs from Georgia Tech and computer science and that kind.
They told you don't do it. That was good advice.
The safest place to keep it is with you, and
That's
so
right. Anything on the internet's public at some point or other.
Well, and if you're smart enough, there's always someone who can find it, no matter whether you delete it or not.
Yep. I always tell everybody that. Just pretend it's public, even if you think it's not.
Right. And so when I shut all that stuff down, it bled the batteries on all my old iPhones and all my old computers and stuff like that, and was moving in 2019 700 miles south to Hayhire, Georgia, to try and get away from
Cindy,
all of the...
I only have about 30 seconds left before I have to go back on the air. Do you want to hang on for after, Rod? We can talk some more?
Sure.
Okay. Because I want to give you all the time you need. So just hang on, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, and it's time to talk space with our very own rocket man. Rod Pyle is here. He is, of course, fully qualified to speak about space matters, seeing as how he used to work at JPL and is now editor-in-chief of Ad Astra, the magazine of the official magazine of the National Space Society at space.nss.org, and has written umpteen books about space. Look for Rod Pyle at Amazon, Pyle. Hello, Rod.
Hello, Tex. How you doing?
You see my hat and my Kentucky string tie, I see.
I was going to say the hat's cool, but figuring out how to do the tie would be what would undo me. Because it's probably hard to make it look just like that.
Just a bow. So it's all because of Yosemite, which is my favorite TV show with Kevin.
Yellowstone.
I'm sorry, Yellowstone. Wrong park. Yosemite's about a bear and his sidekick, and they love picnic baskets. No, Yellowstone with Kevin Costner. Thank you, Lady Laura, for correcting me. She's going, what are you talking about? I love that show, even if I can't remember the name. And they wear those nice cowboy hats, and I just said, I have to get one. But anyway, that's not what you're here to talk about. You're here to talk about rocket ships, the future, and the past.
And Elon Musk again.
Oh, this video. So jealous. From what it's the Everyday Astronaut channel on YouTube. 3 million views.
Tim Dodd.
Tim Dodd is his
million views. Yeah.
3.5 million. And because he got a multi-hour interview with Elon Musk, not just with Elon Musk, but on the grounds of SpaceX, looking at the rockets.
So it's not that uncommon to get inside of the Hawthorne plant. You don't have to be that special. I've done it. But to get inside of this plant, which is down in Boca Chica, Texas, is pretty much impossible. So what happens down there, it's a fenced-off reserve, as you'd expect. So there's dozens of people in the trade, in the journalism trade, that are either camped out or
standing at the fence. They're standing at the fence.
Stand by the fence. And they fly drones and all that.
If they had my outfit on, they might get in Boca Chica.
Right.
I'm just
saying.
saying.
It's a little irritating to the SpaceX guys, but it's free PR. I mean, they don't have to do any promotion, right?
Yeah.
But Tim somehow gets this special access, so he spends about 2.5 hours with Musk walking around the facility. Now, this is the space age done different. They basically decide, okay, what's the process to build this rocket? We'll figure that out, and then we'll put a big tent over it. There are very few concrete buildings there. They're all Tyvek tents, which, it's just enough to do the job right. It's very Russian in a certain aspect, except he's doing the job.
It's really more Silicon Valley, isn't it? It's
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's let's just get it done. But the thing that was so amazing about this multi-part interview is, Tim's asking questions with this wandering kind of Steadicam thing on his phone, I think. Musk, we see him a lot on stage. We see him doing Joe Rogan and that kind of stuff. This is really him. I mean, you get a sense of his personality. He's a little distracted. He kind of fades in and out.
He's kind of the absent-minded professor, isn't he? That's always been his way.
Yeah, and on his Saturday Night Live thing, he said, "Look, I've got Asperger's."
Yeah.
So expect.
I don't know if that's true, but he's definitely he's different.
He is. But I have to say, so he's walking along now. He did write later, Look, I had hardly no sleep the night before, and I just had a back surgery.
My
so
defenses were down. I don't know who this guy is, but I let him in and we talked. This is cool.
Well,
so you're recommending people watch this because this is part 1 and it's 2 hours. Really there's going to be a part 2, I suspect.
And I'd rather they download what you and I do, but yeah, they should watch this.
No, I'm just jealous of these guys. Tim is obviously doing very well, and this is the future of media. I have to say. Every company now knows you want attention, you go to YouTube. That's where the young people are. Hey, I wanted to ask you,
yes, sir,
about poor old Boeing, because it's just now. Remember, you were out there hoping to see the Starliner test launch a couple of weeks ago, and that was scrubbed, and then it was scrubbed again, and now they've hauled the Starliner back to the hangar.
Yes, so. Yes, I actually waited for 3 separate launch attempts and saw none. So
nobody can see one now. They're delaying this indefinitely.
Yeah. So this is the monopropellant system. This is a maneuvering thruster system that had to engage before they could launch because it's also the abort system for this thing. And of the 24 valves that are required to do that, 13 of them didn't open. So they checked and thought, oh, maybe it's a software fault, fingers crossed. Well, it turns out it's not. So they dragged it back inside the building, and it looks as if some moisture got in there and corroded the valve right at the point that it opens. Now, that's understandable, but at the same time, you want to say, Boeing, you guys have been doing this for a really long time. You built a lot of rockets. You worked on the Saturn V. You've worked on other things. What part of this is that challenging? But that's too simplistic and unfair. So NASA's hanging in there with them. But, in the time it takes them to get their first launch ready, again, is the comparison we've made on the show before, you see Musk doing multiple launches of his Starship and walking around during this tour, just to hop back to that for a second. One thing he keeps saying, with all due conviction, is, look, I can answer questions about what you're looking at here because there's rows of rockets and nose cones and engines. And again, it's this General Motors type thing. But he says it's kind of disingenuous because this will probably change next week. And even as he's standing there giving the interview, he'll chew his lip for a second and say, you just made a good point. That's a good idea. I'm going to change this.
That's
and
Elon.
Some guy behind him scribbles down notes.
Yeah.
And they just do it
That's
fast
Elon.
and furious.
Yeah.
But he did also mention, by the way, that designing and building the rocket really hasn't been that hard. The hard part is doing it in such a way that it's like a Model T, so it'll work on the assembly line because his whole point is to build hundreds and hundreds of these things.
This is, I think, an important thing, and I think it doesn't do it does a disservice to Boeing to say, oh, look, they can't get it right. Now they're going back to the drawing board. I think we sometimes don't see how hard this is, all of this stuff. And when you get somebody who's a super genius like Elon and has an amazing workflow like SpaceX, it hides the difficulty, but it is still there.
It does a little bit.
And we want to make it safe. We want to make it work. And I think it's completely appropriate. In fact, I commend Boeing for saying, no, you know what? We're taking it back to the drawing board. We're not going to rush it. Let's get this right. And I think NASA is famous for taking a very long time to do things, right?
Yes, they are. And Boeing is to be commended for their maturity in saying, we're under a lot of public relations pressure here. But like you say, we're going to take it back and do it right. And there's another good reason for that. This is on their own dime. Since that first test failure, everything's been on their own money. NASA's not giving them the money for the reflight, so this is getting very expensive on them.
I think I want to give them some slack.
And surprising.
I want to cut them some slack. Now, one other quick story. We only got a minute left. I just want to bring this up.
Oh, sure.
The Russians say the Americans drilled a hole in one of the modules, the Russian module on the space station, causing it to fail, and it's all the Americans' fault.
Doggone it.
They're making that up, aren't they? There's video. There's no video. There is no evidence of them being anywhere near the
right
leak.
So this is 2018. The leak was detected on the space station. They traced it down to a hole, not punctured, but drilled in the size of the Soyuz.
And it really looked like one of the Russian engineers made a mistake, filled it up with glue, and let it fly.
Yeah. tried to cover it, right? And then the cover popped off, and boom, we got a leak. So part of what hasn't been clear was the attempted fix from the inside or the outside? If it's from the outside, it most certainly was not an American astronaut.
Yeah.
But in any case, this desperate claim that some crazed American drilled a hole so they get home. And mind you, this is, a week or 2 weeks after their new module up at the space station failed, started sending out propellant, spun it 1.5 times. That's a big structure with a lot of weak little parts hanging off.
The moral of this whole story, this whole thing is, space is hard. Take care. Let's do it right. Rod Pyle, spaceman. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's pretty funny, I have to say. They say, American astronaut want to go home, drill hole.
And they've kind of, this story just came out as a renewed charge, but they've been saying this since it happened. Well, it wasn't our guys. We have great control on our
we'd never
really?
make mistake. No mistakes. In Russia,
everything good.
Only good things.
Have more vodka.
No mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah, and this
just
has been
own up to it. Boeing owned up to it. Own up to it,
And
we're all in this together.
Uber reliable. Other than, you got to ding them a little bit for having never gotten to Mars, despite trying about 40 times. But in terms of the manned spaceflight stuff, crewed spaceflight stuff, they did pretty well.
They've done some amazing stuff. Yeah.
But they have not had a
mistakes
good decade here.
Happen. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they happen more some places than others. It kind of, if you're going to be riding that thing, you're a little more concerned about mistakes than if it's just a robot. But yeah.
Rod, a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Always.
And we will talk again soon. Take care.
You bet.
Bye-bye. I still have Cheryl Cindy on the line. I'm sorry, Cindy. I unfortunately got to do my job. But I really want to help you out. So, what's the social media element of this? Is he posting on your behalf or something like that?
That's what I was told. I don't do social media.
I understand. So, because I only have a couple minutes, so I want to kind of cut to the chase. You think he's posting in your name? Is that what you think's going on?
I was told there was a lot of that going on. That there was incorrect, inaccurate.
Let me tell you from firsthand experience. Because this is happening to me all the time.
Right.
Nothing you can do about it. There are companies like Reputation Defender who say they can fix this. They can't. The nature of the net is if your adversary is smart enough to cover his tracks appropriately, and I don't know if this jerk is, I wanted to use a stronger word, I'll just use jerk, but if it sounds like he is technical and he's sophisticated, it's possible, for instance, to register websites in Russia that can never be taken down. Nothing you can do about it. You could pay people hundreds of thousands of dollars, and sometimes it costs that much, and they won't be able to fix it. So you just have to tell your friends, it ain't me. They know there's this jerk out there harassing you. There's the way the internet is constructed, unfortunately.
Right.
You can go to the people who host it. You can go to the people who've got the domain name. There's domain names in my kids' names and disgusting websites in my kids' names, and there's nothing you can do about it. I know for a fact. You just got to live with it. I'm sorry to say.
Well,
the good news is you've never been on social. Your friends, I hope, know you well enough to know that's not you.
Right.
And just put the word out. It ain't me. It's you know who. Don't give them any energy. You can hire, you could hire, and you've done this, private investigator to try to, stop him, but it's expensive, and it's very, if he is at all sophisticated, he can hide his tracks in such a way that there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And I know that from personal experience, unfortunately.
Right. And I hate that for you, too, because it's miserable being on this side of it.
Yeah. I feel more for my wife and my kids than me. I'm the one in the public, and so I expect that.
Right.
And I'm used to that. But they didn't sign up for this, and it's unfortunate. But of course, this one person, and he knows the best way to get to me is to go after my wife and kids.
Yeah.
And they're awful. There's some evil people out there. They're sadists, is what they are. They enjoy.
Psychopath.
Yep. They enjoy causing pain. And so show them no pain, just stiff upper lip, get on with your life. The best way to handle it, to have a good life. I'm sorry. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. Now I feel like I'm really underdressed for the show. I'm going to have to get myself a silver-studded vest, and I'm going to have to do a little bit more. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the phone number. Jim's on the line from Windsor, Colorado. Hello, Jim.
Hi, Leo. How are you today?
I am great. How are you?
I'm fine. I have an old netbook, and
oh my, that's a blast from the past.
You really trashed those babies, but I had it working pretty well with Ubuntu.
Oh, good.
12 point something.
Did it come with Windows and you put Ubuntu on it, or?
Yeah, it came with Windows 7, and since that went away, it wasn't big enough to hold Windows 10.
Exactly, right.
So I put the Ubuntu on there. Now Ubuntu 12 is apparently it's not being supported anymore, and there was a program I couldn't run with it. So I put on Ubuntu 20.04.
That's the current, yeah.
Yeah, it's a current model, and I got it installed okay, but it's very slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there a better?
There is. Yeah. So these netbooks, they're old. They didn't have a lot of memory. They didn't have a lot of horsepower. They were running old Intel processors that were underpowered to begin with. A lot of them came with Windows XP. I think you're smart to put Linux on it, but what you want is a Linux that's designed to be lightweight. Ubuntu, which is the most popular version of Linux, it's still open source. It's still free. But they try to keep up with the times, just like Windows and Mac do, and use the horsepower of modern systems. So it's not at all unusual for them not to run well on systems that only have, for instance, I bet 2 gigs of RAM, maybe 1 gig.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, about 2 gigs.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
Yeah. So, but there are versions of Ubuntu that are designed for smaller machines, for lighter machines. There's X Ubuntu, which is, and there's even smaller ones. There's there's Small Dog Linux. There are a number of these that are designed for lower and slower machines. In fact, Linux lends itself to this because it's actually it's Puppy Linux. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't think there's a Small Dog. Puppy Linux is a lightweight Linux. I don't know. I somehow in my mind turned Puppy into Small Dog. There are a number, because Linux is so configurable, it's pretty easy to find a Linux. What I would do that will fit on that netbook, you can go to DistroWatch, DISTROWatch.org. These are called distributions of Linux. And Linux, which is a free and widely available open source operating system kernel, can be modified to run on very lightweight hardware, even embedded systems and so forth. And then what's on top of it is what makes it a distribution. And you know, you can design a distribution for small. Puppy Linux, for instance, fits on 300 megabytes. So it's very small. But I would look for something that's going to, and most of these, by the way, are based on Ubuntu. They're just spins of Ubuntu. I think there's one called, I don't want to say it out loud, I think Darn Small Linux, except it's not darn. And I never know what the FCC will let me do. We'll just call it DSL for short. That's also designed to be on a small thing, as little as 16 megs of RAM. So you've got a gig, so you're going to be fine. You might, the idea of darn small Linux is it'll fit on a little USB key, and you can run it from that. That's one thing you might want to try is get these on the USB key. If that netbook will boot to USB, boot to it.
Well, it did with Ubuntu. So.
Yeah, you could do it with that. So a lot of these do what Ubuntu did. They call them live distributions, where you can boot it up to the USB drive. It won't be as fast, obviously, but you can at least see if everything works. The screen. Mostly you're looking for the screen, keyboard, and trackpad to work. And if that works, then you can run the installer in the same, boot and install it. And it's worth trying because, yes, I would take a look at darn small Linux. Whoops. And I would and the Puppy Linux. These are and Xubuntu. These are all designed for lightweight machines. I think DSL is probably the smallest I know of out there. It's really tiny.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, you mentioned that. Well, you said check it with the screen first, and then if it's
because the things that won't work are usually. Well, they're showstoppers. If the screen doesn't work, well, obviously, keyboard usually is going to be fine. Trackpad a lot of times doesn't work well, so you always want to look at the screen and the trackpad. Make sure those work all right.
I plan to use it with a keyless mouse and a separate monitor.
That'll probably work better, because those are going to be more standard. But again, the nice thing about Linux is it tends to work best with old stuff because all Linuxes are basically created by enthusiasts who are building something for the hardware they have. So the brand new hardware is always the hardest to get working. It's the old stuff that's most likely some guy named Jerry has created a version of Linux that runs on this old netbook. And it's Jerry's Linux. That's the kind of thing. They're done by enthusiasts.
Okay. Do they all run with Office Libre?
Yes. Again, though, Office gets bigger and bigger over time, needs more and more resources, so it will run. It may not run well.
Okay.
That's a separate thing. But go to DistroWatch. It's not .org. I'm sorry. It's .com. DistroWatch.com, and you can look at all the distributions. And some of the ones I've mentioned, there's another one called Linux Lite, Lite, that's also designed for small machines, and it's got a full Office suite, and it's designed for Windows users to make them be comfortable. Okay. I think DSL is the smallest one I know of.
Okay, I'll take a look at them.
Yeah, I think this is a good project, and if you get it working, I have the old original netbook, the EPC from Asus, behind me in my museum. I haven't booted it up. It came with Windows XP. Yeah, gig of RAM, old Atom processor.
Yep.
Those things almost, frankly, put PCs out of business because a lot of people said, oh, a $200 computer, that's great. They got it home, and it was so unusable, they said, well, I'm never buying another computer. It really put a ding in the computer business for years. It's kind of like when the Commodore computers made their VIC-20. Which was a very inexpensive, I think it was $99, very inexpensive computer, but it was inexpensive because it was terrible. And there's VIC-20s in closets all over America. And I would bet there are a lot of families who said, well, we're never doing that again. we're never using it. We're never buying another computer. Those things are terrible. Well, they're not terrible, but that's the problem. I think there's a false economy. I get people calling me all the time saying, I don't want to spend more than $200 on a computer. Well, it's not that you can't do it. Yeah, their companies will make them, but you will not have a good experience. And often it's the least sophisticated users that should be spending more money, not less. If you're a geek and you can bang on things, if you could do as you're planning to do, Jim, and install Linux on your old netbook, well, you can probably figure it out. But if you're just a family saying, we're going to get a computer for Junior and we don't know anything about computers, that's when your troubles begin, when you say, but we can't spend more than $150. Well, you can get it, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's hard for me because I understand money's tight. I hate to say, well, you got to spend $1,000. Sorry, but you kind of do. Hey, that wraps things up for today. I thank you, Professor Laura, our musical director. I thank Kim Schaffer, our phone angel, most of all. Thank you for being here. Couldn't do it without you. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Please have a great, safe Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.